Do not adjust your digital device. What you are about to see and hear may shock and appall you. Join our hosts as they encounter countless thrills, spills, chills, and hilarity as they explore the very weirdest in pop culture. The following media is so strange, so beyond the scope of what is normal, it will make you ask the question, why does this exist? Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of Why Does This Exist? I'm Chris.
And I'm Rob.
And today we've got an exciting show about a very interesting twist to not only a classic album and one of the greatest albums of all time, but also one of the most beloved movies of all time, and possibly one of the best classic movies of all time. Definitely the best movie of its day.
Yeah.
And the two of them are somehow spliced together in a wacky way that, well, to put it bluntly, there's no way that this could have been discovered without drugs.
Yeah. This was definitely like discovered by people that were fucking on another planet.
Yeah, like, there's no way that you can't be that you couldn't be absolutely whacked, which we don't have a truth or whack today, but you had to be absolutely whacked to friggin' even think to put this together. Or maybe it was just total happenstance, or like one person in the other room happened to be like listening to something, and then the other person was watching this movie in the other room. One of them may or may not have been on drugs, and they were just like, "Oh my god, dude, no, it's syncing up. You need to crank that."
I feel like it'd be it's too synced up for it to be just like a coincidence like that. You know, like it would, like, there had to be like someone like, let's like listen to this album while we watch Wizard of Oz and see if there's any, like, you know, just some crazy stoner idea.
Well, now you went and spoiled it. So what we are going to talk about is Dark Side of the Rainbow, which, if you don't know what that is, it is, like you just said, a combination of The Wizard of Oz, and the album in question is Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon. It's been combine the two together, listen to Dark Side of the Moon twice, and watch The Wizard of Oz once, and for whatever reason, it syncs up uncannily perfectly to the movie.
That's actually the newer method of doing it, because the old, like, the original, like, method of watching Dark Side of the Rainbow was actually only watching for the length of the Dark Side of the Moon through once. And, like, they say that there's more, like, linking if you just put it on the album on repeat and keep watching the movie till the end.
Correct.
But, like, really the most links and synchronicity is in that first 43 minutes. That's like where Dark Side of the Moon is, like, you know, the full length Dark Side of the Moon.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I didn't notice which had more syncing up and which one didn't, but I think subconsciously I probably noticed that more things during the first half.
Yes.
But anyway, let me kick this off with our quick spiel, and then we'll get on, and then we'll do what we got to do. Thanks everybody for coming and hanging out and just being here with us once again on this on this merry Friday evening. It is to kick off 4th of July weekend here in the States, and for some reason it was Canada Day today. I don't know why. I just saw a GIF this morning that I ended up sending to my future family, and I was like, "Well, happy Canada Day! Get out your hockey sticks and your and your snow and your maple syrup and whatever other, getting your Canadian dollars that go for pennies on the American dollar." Well, actually, now I don't know. They might even be close. I'm not following the economy that much, but it seems like everybody's going to hell in a handbasket. Anyway, happy Canada Day to all of our Canadian viewers, all two of you. They're probably a couple, so it only counts as one household. I don't know. Anyway, we are Why Does This Exist? And I guess thanks to everybody all over the world, too, and whatever it is, whatever day it is that you may or may not be celebrating. I don't know. Happy latest day of being alive. I don't know. Go celebrate something. Treat yourself or do whatever it is you do in your part of the world. We are Why Does This Exist? We are a show that speaks about the very strangest items in pop culture, whether it be a movie, an album, a movie and an album like we're about to do, a movie like The Mask, which we just did, some strange music like Ween, which we also just previously did, talking about occasionally we don't like to dip into politics or anything going on with the world, but sometimes we just can't resist, like talking about the Vince McMahon scandal that recently occurred about a week ago. It's already, like, old news by now when no one's even talking about it anymore, by the way, which we called it.
Yeah.
But we like to, if it's a weird thing that happened or will happen in the future, we're going to talk about it. We're just gonna. It's gonna happen. There's a few ways that you can support us. You can either find us on social media, on Twitter at twitter.com/WDTEpod. You can like us on Facebook, at facebook.com/whydoesthisexistpod. You can tell us in private that we're great by heading over to by just emailing us at whydoesthisexistshow@gmail.com. Or you could even send in your requests. Maybe we'll do them. I don't know. Or you could do it a little bit more publicly again by simply heading over to YouTube. You can listen to the show, and we do have some clips of a lot of past episodes on there. At some point, we'll have to get on adding more clips, but we do have full episodes of the show that, if they're musical episodes, they include all of the music too. So so that way you can hear the episode in all of its full glory, uncensored. But you can also give us some money. You can head over to patreon.com/whydoesthisexist, and you can support us for as little as $1. It'll give you access to our Discord server. And you can hang out with us, you can chat with us, you can be our pal, and we'll be your pal too. Or you could just bash us repeatedly, and we have nothing that we could do about it. You can even go on the show if you give us enough money of the topic of your choice. So there's things that you can do. You can also find us wherever you get your podcasts. And if you would like to be really, really cool, please give us 5 stars. Or whatever you think a good review is, just give us that. So that way it bumps us up in the ratings, more people find us, more people potentially give us money, and then we, slowly rule the world, and then maybe we can make enough money to take this on tour one day. How would that be? Huh? Do we have any takers? No? That's okay. We might do it anyway, but we'll probably
pay us to stay home.
We'll probably be old. Yeah, just pay us to stay home. We will never come within 5 miles of your town. That might be even better. If you really hate the show, that's probably for the best. Just give us money and we will stay away from you. I learned that trick from Antenna Man. If you don't know who Antenna Man is, just go on the subway. You'll find him eventually. He comes from the planet Jazz and he crash landed on Earth, and he needs money to, fix his spaceship. And he also wants to take whatever president is in office with him. So that's an incentive. That's always an incentive.
Let's give him some money. Let's all give him money.
Just give the money to Antenna Man. Whoever.
I wonder how much he'll charge to take all the politicians.
I mean, you just gotta give.
Yeah.
You just gotta give. All right. So that's our podcast. That's our spiel. That's everything we gotta say. That's the news. Here's the weather. You are now about to witness the strength of street knowledge from a ragtag group of rogues, so let's get on with the goddamn show. Take it away, Maestro. What is Dark Side of the Rainbow? You're the bigger Pink Floyd fan here. I enjoy them, and I appreciate them, and Pink Floyd is really great, and it would be nice to see them or a tribute band. Probably better to see a tribute band these days, because you'll never
see Pink Floyd ever again.
Yes, you never will. No. But I truly do appreciate them, and I do happen to own an original copy of Animals on vinyl, which today it seems that they've put aside their differences, and they agreed to some kind of a reissue or a remaster or something. I saw something today, actually.
Well, I mean, they still, like, David Gilmour still owns Pink Floyd. Like, he's like still like, you know.
Yes, that's what it is. It's a long-delayed Animals reissue.
Yeah.
It's a 2018 remix, and it was delayed by the liner notes argument between, well, who else? Roger Waters and David Gilmour, who hate each other's guts. So it's probably, of course, down to money, but deep. I mean, on the surface, it's probably about money, but like between the two of them, they just have really, really bad blood hatred to the point where they intentionally sabotage the other one.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, there's that. But while they were still together, they recorded Dark Side of the Moon, which is heralded as one of the greatest albums of all time. But yes. I'm going to shut my yapper, and you can inform the good people on what Dark Side of the Rainbow is.
All right. So basically, like you said, it's a combination between The Wizard of Oz and Dark Side of the Moon. Originally, I'll talk about the history a little bit, I guess. Originally, this was kind of discovered in the early 90s on like a Pink Floyd like forum, basically on the web online. So this is like the early days of the internet and stuff. So basically, they had been talking about this, that some people, quote unquote, some people down in Los Angeles had come up with this strange pairing. So some people down in Los Angeles probably means these people that were fucking blazed out of their mind and decided to just watch Wizard of Oz while listening to Pink Floyd and saw all these kind of weird syncs with it. So basically, a 20-year-old journalist with the Fort Wayne Journal-Gazette decided to research it. And
this gentleman's name is Charles Savage, or Charles Savage, however you want to spell it. It sounds cool.
Maybe he's Randy Savage's son.
Or he's a spy. Sounds like a spy name. It's Charles Savage. Or, it's Charles Savage, everybody.
Oh, yeah. So he said, after doing some research about it and watching it himself, quote, "The result is astonishing. It's as if the movie were one long art film music video for the album. Song lyrics and titles match the action and plot. The music swells and falls with the characters' movements. Expect to see enough firm coincidences to make you wonder whether the whole thing was planned." So, it is, and it's crazy how true that is. Like, there is literally so many different like things that sync up perfectly. I'll go through like a small list of stuff that's like the biggest stuff. So, during the opening track, which is "Breathe," Dorothy is balancing on the fence between the pig pens, while the lyrics are literally singing "Balanced on the biggest wave." Another instance is the song "Time" plays when the scene switches to Dorothy running away from home so she can go save Toto, and the line that happens right as that's happening is "No one told you when to run."
Right, and then she just immediately starts running on the line.
Yes.
The way that you want to do this is by muting the movie.
Yes. You could actually, if you
could do it either
YouTube,
way, but on YouTube they have muted versions that I've found. They probably have unmuted too, but I couldn't find them.
Yeah, so the YouTube version that I saw is, it, like you said, it's muted, and it was the whole movie, so they repeat Dark Side of the Moon. Like I said, when the original, when I first heard about this and when I watched it years and years ago, the original thing was you only watch Dark Side of the, like, it till the end of Dark Side of the Moon. So you watch the first 43 minutes of the movie, and...
Okay, I thought that it was all of it.
No, yeah, so that's become, like, a thing kind of after. The original thing with Dark Side of the Moon was just to watch just for the length of the album and not repeat the album. It does kind of work though if you watch it on repeat, with the album on repeat, because the movie itself is 100 and something minutes, 100 and 3 minutes, or I don't know the exact length, and the album is 43 minutes. So you have to watch. You will basically watch it 1.5 times to watch the whole movie, or 2.5 times rather, because it's 43 minutes. Yeah, so that would so 2.5 times to watch the whole movie.
Right, and there are interesting notes where things happen.
Yes.
So another big thing is the Great Gig in the Sky. When that starts playing, it's when the house is being it's when the twister occurs, and it starts once it starts really getting to a crescendo, it's when the house is spiraling in the air and the twister.
Yes.
And the music gets soft once she lands too.
Yes.
So there's that too, and also is it Time or is it On the Run when we first see the Wicked Witch and the alarm bells go off? Because that's another thing too that's interesting.
It was Time. Yeah, the bells go off as soon as she appears on the screen, basically.
Yeah, so it's almost as a warning, just a foreshadowing. But what the second thing, but what I was going to say is when you listen to the album 1.5 times and you're doing it through the whole movie, there's interesting places where where it tends to line up. Like Money starts when it starts in two places, obviously. So the first part is when she arrives and she sees and the world turns to color, and she's in the Munchkin land and everything. And then the second time it pops around is when she actually gets to the Emerald City.
Mm-hmm.
So it subconsciously creates this it creates kind of an Oz arc, not really a character arc, but it lets you see how there is some it doesn't help you see anything because that's not necessarily how the movie was interpreted, but it adds dimensions. Yeah. That's the word. It adds dimensions that would not be there without the soundtrack. So it almost changes the meaning of the movie. So it makes it seem as though greed has something to do with both Oz, obviously, and also the Munchkin land. And neither of them like the Wicked Witch, so it almost creates this sympathy for the Wicked Witch, actually, because where Money plays on both of them, it's almost like there's a connection and a corroboration between the two to get rid of her. Right. Now, it is, of course, different when you watch the movie just by itself, where clearly the Wicked Witch is not very nice, to quote our friend King Diamond. But if you watch it with Pink Floyd, it changes certain things, and also it's the movie is muted when you're listening along with it. So since there's no dialogue, it also adds those other dimensions to it. Yeah, and it's interesting because there's that philosophical level of all the scenes linking up, where the lyrics of the song are describing what's happening in the scene, or the names of the songs that are playing describe the song Brain Damage plays right when we see the or right when If I Only Had a Brain starts, the Scarecrow starts singing If I Only Had a Brain. Right, I was going to say that too. The parts that I noticed the most is where it was synced up was all of the parts where she meets her friends. Yes. That it shows up like clockwork. Yes, and the really scary thing is that at the end of Eclipse, there's the heartbeat that's the exit of the album, and it's the last thing you hear before the album ends, and it literally plays just as Dorothy puts her ear to the Tin Man's chest to listen for his heart. So it's it's uncanny how much it syncs. And like I was saying, it's not only on a philosophical level. There's perfect synchronization in the beats. The Munchkins all dance to the beat of the Pink Floyd music when they're dancing. There's times where Toto's tail is wagging to the exact beat of the music. And it's not even okay, it was just, it looks like it, but it really was kind of off time. It's perfectly on time. Yes. It's completely aligned. It's completely aligned. It makes no sense, but that's what this show is about.
Yeah, it really it's crazy. It's an uncanny thing, um, and a lot of people, detractors have tried to say like, oh, it's just a coincidence, or like, there's this like we have this tendency, the human brain will like find patterns where there's really not patterns.
It's called apophenia.
Yeah.
It's the tendency to perceive meaningful connections between unrelated things. It was coined by psychiatrist Klaus Conrad in his 1958 publications on the beginning stages of schizophrenia.
Yeah.
Which I'm just reading the Wikipedia page, so forgive me if this is wrong. I hope it's not. He defined it as an unmotivated seeing of connections accompanied by a specific feeling of abnormal meaningfulness. He described the early stages of delusional thought as self-referential over-interpretations of actual sensory perceptions, as opposed to hallucinations.
I would, and I would tend to agree with, like, I think most things, it is like a sign of schizophrenia to like make these crazy connections that like don't make any sense. And I think most things you could jot down to like coincidence, but the fact that like this is like more than one instance where it perfectly syncs up. It's not like almost like not really there. Like, when Us and Them is playing is when Dorothy meets the Wicked Witch of the West, and the line's black, it goes black and blue, right? And when it says black, it's looking at the Wicked Witch of the West who's wearing black, and then when then Pink Floyd says and blue, it switches to Dorothy who's wearing a blue dress. You know, and like. And then also says, the next line is, and who knows which is which. And it says that as the Wicked Witch walks up and starts talking to Glinda, the Good Witch.
Well, again, that adds the dimensions that we were just talking about to the movie, where it helps flip the story completely. Which another version of this is also called by some Dark Side of Oz. So maybe some of you have heard that term instead, but. It again harkens back to what I was saying before, how this album completely flips the narrative on The Wizard of Oz, where this almost shows it almost shows it almost tells you from the witch's point of view without doing anything differently.
Yeah.
Like it does it subliminally in this way, where it says witch is witch. It's almost like, and you see Glenda and the Wicked Witch of the West, and it further adds that dimension where everyone else in Oz just has like this plot to just get rid of the Wicked Witch, who has not done anything wrong.
Yeah.
So you see the movie completely different with this album playing behind it and muted. So I think that's just really interesting, and it adds another dimension to this.
So the band itself, they've been asked about this actually multiple times, and they've denied.
They've probably
vehemently.
Never been able to get away from it.
Yeah, they've denied vehemently that there's anything to do like that they planned this, or that they wrote the album as like a soundtrack to Wizard of Oz. They like completely denied it. They said there's nothing. David Gilmour was actually quoted as saying that it was the product of some guy with too much time on his hands. And like, so that, they could, but it's like, at the same time, you think about it, it's like, it's so perfectly in sync. It's like how, like the amount of time and work and effort it would have been to write an album that's so perfectly in sync with Wizard of Oz, and how many times they would have to sit there and watch the Wizard of Oz and sit there with a guitar and strum along to it. Like it would be like so much more work than just writing the album, So I think it was an accident. I think it's just one of those things. It's like, synchronicity is what they call it. Where like, or synchronicity.
Also a good album by The Police.
Yes. It's just, it's one of those things where like the universe somehow aligned, so, the universe is chaos, but sometimes things just align perfectly, and they line up in that perfect way.
Right. And I mean, there's no way, like you said, this has to be the most strangest coincidence.
Yes.
of strange coincidences, because I have to agree with you. I highly doubt that they sat down and they just said, "Oh well, we're gonna sync this to the Wizard of Oz, so don't tell anybody, and like we'll hope that someone figures it out." That's, first of all, that, like, the amount of time that it would take to do this.
Yeah,
like you said, it would take years. And probably
like,
match this up perfectly. But on top of that,
you have to like pay off to not like tell the story like that it was actually true, it would be it'd be like the friggin' like those guys that tried to fake the Bigfoot video, like how long could they possibly go without like saying it's a hoax,
Right. And on top of this, that's out of character for Pink Floyd. If they had a big production, they made sure that everyone knew. They promoted the crap out of it. Like when they did the Wall movie and when they did the Wall live production, which is pretty much the only thing that people go, well, it's not the only thing, but it's like one of the main reasons why people go to see either David Gilmour or Roger Waters is to see them perform the Wall. They promoted the hell out of it.
Spectacle.
Yeah, right, it's if it's like Pink Floyd they never did anything low key.
No.
Like whatever they did, they told you. So they would tell you, and they would take full advantage of this if they really did do it this way.
Yeah, and the thing is also is that Pink Floyd's third album, More, it was a soundtrack for a movie. So it's not like they were like averse to doing soundtracks for movies, because they did it. It was actually the soundtrack to the film of the same name, More, which was like a drama film. From that was an English drama film from the 60s. They made the soundtrack to it, and that's their third album.
Is the movie any good?
I don't know. I've never watched it.
Okay.
The album is good. It's got a lot of good songs. It's that early Pink Floyd. Good. Well, it's that early Pink Floyd though, before they got popular. So it's like it's different. It's not like listening to Dark Side of the Moon or it's completely different. It's when they were more like experimental psychedelic rock. And it's very, there's some, not like, I don't want to say like not normal sounding, but there's a lot of like, like off key kind of things and stuff like that they do. It's more avant-garde, let's say, than their later work.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a good album, and so they're not averse to doing soundtracks to movies, and so it would, if they said, we did it to this as like an alternate soundtrack to like the Wizard of Oz, they would fucking say it, like you said. They would be proud of the fact that they did that, especially because it links so well.
Right.
So
and,
the fact
Alan Parsons further debunked this because Dark Side of the Moon came out in the early 70s.
Yeah, I think it was
1973.
Yeah.
And VCRs weren't commercially available until the mid-70s, so...
Yes.
And, The Wizard of Oz didn't come out on VHS until 1989, so that further debunks it, because they
literally had no way of watching.
Yeah, that's what Alan Parsons said. He was like, there's no way that we could have done this.
Yes.
We didn't have VCRs, so, it's not possible. Otherwise they'd have to go find a movie theater, they'd have to pay the movie theater to play it, they'd have to record the album in the movie theater, which... I'm pretty sure that you would have found out that they did that.
Yes.
So, again, just total coincidence.
Yes. Well, especially because it's really well known that Dark Side of the Moon was recorded at Abbey Road. Everybody knows that. Anybody who's watched a Pink Floyd documentary knows that's where they recorded it, was Abbey Road Studios. So there's, like you said, there's no possible way they could have gotten a projector in there to do it. So there's, and there's footage of them recording the album from the 70s. So it's not like they were in a fucking a room somewhere, watching the movie on a screen while they were recording it. There's footage of them in Abbey Road Studios doing it. So
right. So it's again totally debunks the idea. But I'm sure there's a million people out there who are just completely denying, and they're like, no, they definitely did sync it up, despite all of this evidence. You still have some conspiracy people that are probably just saying, no, they definitely did this, and this is the lie that the mainstream media is telling you.
It's the same people that probably deny the moon landing was real. So.
Yeah, I'm finding this on iHeart.com, which I wouldn't consider to be mainstream media. But, okay. Or Priceonomics or all these other things. Actually, I gotta read this article. This sounds interesting. A lesson in synchronicity. But anyway, speaking of synchronicity, this is not the only movie. And this was something that me and my fiancée were talking about the other day. Mm-hmm. Where I was telling her how uncanny things do line up. And she was like, well, this can't be the only movie that syncs up to it, which she was right. Of course she was. Mm-hmm. Now I saw this guy on YouTube. I forgot what the hell his YouTube channel was. I think it was like Nerds or Die or something like that. Darks. Let me look it up. Let me try to help this guy. What was his thing? It's the No Nerds Allowed. There you go. It's he did this about 2 years ago. It's called The Scientific Truth About Dark Side of the Rainbow. So this guy, he there's a couple of people who have tried this. There's one guy. There's one guy. There's the. I think his name is Griffin McElroy. They do they do this podcast called "Till Death Do Us Blart." I'm not really sure what it is, but I know that every year they watch Paul Blart Mall Cop or Mall Cop 2. For some reason they watch this movie. They love this movie. Obviously, I've never listened to the show, but I might be curious. So for one of the episodes, like every year, they watch the movie and they do an episode about it as a tradition. So so one year, this guy, Griffin McElroy, one of the hosts on the show, he decided to watch it differently. So he watched Paul Blart Mall Cop with Dark Side of the Room in the background, and he started them at the same time. And he found that it also syncs up very, very well. Now that got this guy thinking. The No Nerds Allowed guy. Mm-hmm. He decided, I'm going to try this with other movies, and someone else has also tried this with WALL-E. This guy,
the WALL-E one was actually with another brick in the wall. It was actually from like the wall they used.
Right. It's another brick in the WALL-E. I never listened to. I've never seen that, so maybe we could test that out too one day. I don't know. Maybe we'll do that as a bonus thing where we can like just talk about it for about like 10-ish minutes or something. I don't think there'll be that much depth to it, but you never know. The guy who said that is a comedian, Matt Herzog. I hope that I'm saying it right, but anyway. This guy decided to do it. He decided to sync it up to multiple movies. Now he synced, and he had like his own scale and like this ranking system as to how the synchronicity actually, like just how much synchronicity there actually is. I didn't know Dream Theater did Dark Side of the Moon. That must be freaking cool to see. Well,
that would be an interesting thing.
I mean, someone put it up there. It's on YouTube. I'm sure it's awesome. I've seen Dream Theater. I saw them with Iron Maiden. They were pretty good. But I didn't come for Dream Theater. I came for Iron Maiden.
Of course.
The good show, though. But the No Nerds Allowed guy, he did Dark Side of the Rainbow, and then he tried it with Paul Blart Mall Cop 2. He tried it with Infinity War. He tried it with Shrek. He tried it with The Godfather. And he also tried it with The Shining. Which The Shining has its own interesting things to it because it's just such a crazy movie and there's so many different... Yeah. There's so many hidden things in there and so many theories as to what it could be. Do we have The Shining on our calendar? I don't think we do.
I don't
actually.
think so.
All right, so
we need to add The Shining.
So we haven't got. We've got everything through October. So maybe
Maybe in the wintertime. That would be a good wintertime one.
Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe that could be either the last episode of the year or the first episode of 2023.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of those things. Or maybe it'll be the Groundhog Day episode. I don't know. Well, we'll try to put that in the pipeline somewhere.
Yes.
So he synced the movies. He synced Dark Side of the Moon to all of these various movies. The Shrek one he kind of just did because he just wanted, because he was like hoping for another. Yeah, he was hoping for another Shrek meme.
Yeah.
Now he noted that Wizard of Oz, I think, actually was one of the lower ranking ones according to his system.
That's interesting because that's like got a lot of synchronicity. So
right.
If the other movies are more, like I would like to see that, how it links up, you know?
Yeah, I would like to also. I'm curious. The one that he found the most synchronicity with turned out to be The Shining.
I could see that.
I could definitely see that. Because
it's a very atmospheric movie.
Yes, and also there's this whole other thing about The Shining where if you play the movie backwards and forwards at the same time on on TVs that are next to each other, they line up almost identically too. There's certain, so one of the things is in the beginning of the movie, so you mute the one that's going backwards, right?
Yeah, obviously.
And in the movie going forwards, when Jack is first taking a look around the Overlook Hotel and they mention the previous murders, and he's unfazed by it. In the backwards one is when he starts actually committing or attempting to kill his family, and he loses it.
Yeah.
So that right there, it's complete foreshadowing.
Yeah.
In the finest form. And there's a bunch of other things too that there's this documentary about The Shining, and I forgot what it's called. I watched it on Netflix several years ago, but that was really good, and it has all of the wacky theories and everything going on with it.
Yeah.
And there's just so much. Honestly, it'd be nice to see, let me take that back. It would be nice, it would have been nice if around the same time or while Stanley Kubrick was still alive, it would have been nice if they did a spin-off show or spin-off movies about the Overlook itself and all of the different things that went on in there. Mm-hmm. But Stanley Kubrick is no longer with us for quite some time now.
The Shining, isn't it based off of
it's based off of Stephen King's book, yes, but Stephen King hated the book. That's why they went into
the movie.
Yeah, that's right. He hated he could have hated the book too. Who the hell knows?
Well, maybe.
It was about his own problems with alcoholism, but he hated.
They remade the movie as like a TV movie, in the 90s or something, right?
Yes, he hated Stanley Kubrick's adaptation, so he made his own made-for-TV movie in various parts about what the book is supposed to be about. And it's honestly, I haven't seen it, but I've seen a lot of reviews of it, and I've heard people talk about it who have seen it. It's not very good.
Yeah.
So I guess Stanley Kubrick is eternally on Stephen King's shit list.
Yeah.
But what are you gonna do? It's the artist versus another artist, and the originator did not like the interpretation, and the interpreter was Stanley Kubrick, probably the greatest director of all time. So
yeah,
there's that. Whoever you think wins that fight, tell us in the comments below. I want to see Team Kubrick, and I want to see Team Kings. I want to see the Kings and the Kubricks going at it, but civilly. I don't want you to threaten the other person. That's not very nice. To again quote our friend King Diamond. Maybe in the next time that we say that, we'll have to do it in the King Diamond voice.
Yeah.
And that'll just be the running gag from now on. All right, look at that. This is what happens on the show. We come up with things, and then we do them. Because, we are very nice.
You know, the like you were saying with the the playing The Shining backwards and forwards. It's interesting because Roger Waters is obsessed with cycles, and that's very much present on Pink Floyd albums. They often like end on the same thing as they begin on, so that way if you had it on repeat, you could like literally listen to it on repeat forever, and it'll almost feel like an endless like track.
Oh, we should have done that.
Yeah.
Well, we could still do it with our next album whenever that happens.
Yeah. But so it's interesting because he's like so obsessed with cycles like that and if The Shining links the best up with Dark Side of the Moon, who knows, maybe there's some kind of link there to probably not, but like it's interesting to think about like that.
Yeah, it'd be very cool to see something like that.
It could have been, honestly, you never know, like they could have been just sitting around or like went to like the movies like completely blazed out of their minds and like watched The Wizard of Oz and just like it like sunk into their subconscious, and when they wrote the movie or when they wrote the album, they weren't even intending for it to link up. It just did because they were like, it like sunk in like that somehow,
Right, and somehow they channeled what they watched or like whatever, or like the drugs kicked in and their minds reverted to The Wizard of Oz.
Yeah,
I mean, listen, anything is possible, and I'm sure drug use was very present during the recording of that album.
Yes,
and in fact, I would bet that happens on pretty much all of their albums.
Yes, yeah, they were definitely doing all kinds of stuff.
I'm sure.
So apparently, also, there's more than just like we mentioned Another Brick in the Wall-E. So there's other Pink Floyd albums that link up with movies. Another one is the song Echoes, which was on the album Metal, which was the one right before Dark Side of the Moon. And that apparently links up perfectly with the fourth act of 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Really?
So again, another Kubrick movie. But yeah, both that sequence in 2001 and the song are 23 minutes long approximately, and they apparently like just link up perfectly.
Huh.
So, maybe there's something with like, maybe like, Kubrick and Roger Waters were somehow thinking on like the same wavelength, and that's why all their like stuff like somehow links up, together really good.
I mean, it's plausible.
Yeah, it's their brains were just in that same wavelength. So whenever they plied each of their own respective craft, and it just somehow links up because of that. But Dark Side of the Rainbow is one of those things where, I think everybody should check it out just like with an open mind and see how, it's easy to like, you don't even have to have a list of stuff. Like, and actually I encourage people to go in without like a list of what like the big like syncs are, because it's good to see them for yourself. And I think going in with a list, you're going to just start looking for stuff that's not necessarily there, but there is plenty of stuff. And I like when I was watching it, there's plenty of like musical like parts, like, the beat is right on time with the movie, and like the characters are like dancing on time with the beat. It's like there's all these like little subtle hints that it's syncing up. And if you just are going to look for the big things like Dorothy, balancing on the fence and stuff like that, you're going to miss all that little stuff that's like really subtle, and it's there, but it's just hard to see. But it's definitely something to freaking just like, do some substances that may be illegal in your state or may not be, depending on what part of the country you live in, and just sit back and check it out and watch it.
Right. I have to say, it would have been it also would have been nice to have possibly been on one of those substances that may or may not be illegal in my part of the world.
Yeah.
I came into this stone cold sober, and I still was very intrigued. I think maybe I had built it up in my head a little bit, but I appreciated it. I didn't.
Yes.
I wasn't blown away by it, but I definitely appreciated it, and I was like, oh man, that lines up. That's pretty cool. Obviously, I took quite a bit away from it to notice how this completely flips the narrative on the movie.
Yeah.
So it does indeed turn it into the Dark Side of Oz, where it's almost like the underbelly revolting against the Wicked Witch, who is beloved, which is the complete opposite of the Wizard of Oz. So it is really interesting. So obviously I took some stuff away from it. I was intrigued, I was impressed, but and I appreciated it, but I wasn't as blown away as I thought that I was going to be. I guess, like I said, maybe I built it up in my head to be a certain way. Maybe I thought that maybe I was expecting more, I'm not really sure, but I definitely wasn't as blown away as I thought that I was going to be, but I did appreciate it and I did enjoy what I saw and I liked how it matched up, and it did inspire me to find other movies and just throw them on with random albums just to see if they sync up. Because now I just want to know, like, you know, do certain thrash albums like oh, I don't know, does Deicide line up with The Omen?
Yeah.
Let's see how that works out. Do we get Tankard's zombie attack album to line up with Mars Attacks? I would love to know. Which actually, Mars Attacks would be a good episode too.
Yeah.
But and now I'm a lot more inspired. Now I'm gonna go to the movies and I'm gonna watch a movie and I'm gonna say, oh, I bet you that lines up with something. I'm definitely gonna want to try this with Minions too, because I'm sure it's just really silly to find something. And also, well, I would try Thor Love and Thunder and like sync into Mastodon. I feel like that could work.
Or Amon Amarth.
Oh yeah, even better. Let's do Amon Amarth and see what happens. Maybe the first Thor might be best to do that one, to do Amon Amarth. But who the hell knows? I definitely would want to try listening to I definitely want to try watching a Thor movie to Twilight of the Thunder God.
Yeah, I would definitely. I that would be interesting to find those and especially if you've found another concept album and put it next to a movie and see how it holds up. That because that was the Pink Floyd because all their albums are concept albums pretty much. So there's that overarching theme and it kind of really fits in with a movie.
Ooh, this makes me want to try. This makes me want to try King Diamond's Them to Psycho. I bet you that lines up pretty nicely.
Yeah. I want to do King Diamond's Abigail to Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island.
Oh my god, that would be amazing.
Or I guess it would probably be Voodoo would probably work better with that one.
Maybe.
Because that takes place in a Louisiana bayou.
Oh, all right. Yeah, I would try that first then.
Yeah.
So so anybody out there in digital media device land, we've got some ideas, so you can go out there and have yourself a time.
Yeah. Well, I actually you mentioned The Shining, and I actually would be really interested to watch The Dark Side of The Shining too. I think that would be a really good thing to check out too, because that seems like it's such an atmospheric movie. It'd probably be creepy. It really would be.
I'm sure. This Nerds Guy Aloud has some pretty interesting points. I mean, you got to check out his video. He has very specific moments where things line up with the dark side of all these other movies that he tried out.
It would be interesting also to do it with a silent movie. You take a movie like Nosferatu and sync it to something, because it's a silent movie anyway. So, see if there is any links with music and what's going on the screen. That's
probably the best point of attack on this is to really try it out with a silent movie, because I bet you could get a ton of I bet you there's a ton of things out there.
Yeah.
That would end up working. How many things would work with Charlie Chaplin movies, I wonder.
Oh, probably a lot. Really.
Probably. I you know what? I want to see Charlie Chaplin ride the lightning. Don't you?
Yeah.
So, yeah, definitely Charlie Chaplin's Metallica Ride the Lightning. Let's try to see how that works. I don't know. Uh-huh. I mean, those movies might actually, the silent movies, they might actually be because they were shorter, so they might actually be the full length of certain albums. So you have a better chance of only listening to one playthrough and getting complete synchronicity.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would try that.
Yeah.
And I'm definitely inspired to do so. If we do end up doing this on either on our own or in or just as a bonus episode or something, and we just try this as just like a watch along or something, I think it'd behoove us to talk about it. So maybe we'll do some bonus stuff or something.
Yeah.
Or we'll just talk about it on the show.
Thing to do.
But if you've had any other experiences with Dark Side of the Moon in a movie or any other type of music and a movie, please feel free to let us know in the comments section of our YouTube channel. The channel is, of course, Why Does This Exist? And please go into our videos and just let us know. And also, if you want to say it in your review too, because I think you can write it in for Apple, go right ahead. Let us know what you watched, and maybe we'll check it out too. And we'll take suggestions. We also take cold hard cash. We take 10s and 20s. But there's plenty of Dark Side of the Rainbow to go around.
Yeah.
I only wish that we could have. I only wish that we did this a day sooner, so that we could have. So that forget it. There's a running gag that my pal BBG went and made the other day. But you know what? I'm not going to do it. It's too late.
All right.
It's too late. I'll tell you later.
All right.
But I think I've pretty much got all my thoughts summed up in a bucket.
Yeah, I think that's. I mean, we talked about it as much as we could, and I think it really needs to speak for itself. So if anybody's interested, they should go check it out. And it's on YouTube. If you just type in Dark Side of the Rainbow on YouTube, you should be able to find it.
Yeah, there's a couple.
Yeah,
and also go ahead and check out
movies too.
Yes, and also go ahead and check out the No Nerds Allowed guys video on it. I think you'll find some interesting stuff in there, and also check out the other movies that he did. I know there are some bands that do sync their music to things intentionally, but that's the complete opposite, where they intentionally score. There was a band a long time ago called Sledgehammer Pinata that did this to the Chinese restaurant album of Seinfeld. The album's called Grindfeld, I believe, but that was a hoot too.
Yeah. But that was on purpose, so that was one of those things that's they were making it specifically, or that was specifically for, it wasn't an accident.
Right.
That's why
there's intentional things. There's another band called Larry David, where the logo looks like a cross between Larry David's face and the Motorhead mascot.
That's
and
amazing.
They specifically throw in Curb Your Enthusiasm arguments into what they play under. So I don't know I don't know if they play to it or it comes on after or they add it later, but it's pretty genius.
Yeah.
But there's really nothing else to say about this. Check it out, except just go watch it. Go watch it for yourself. Tell us about your experience. Let us know whether or not you were doing anything that may or may not be legal in your part of the world. And just let us know what the varying experiences are. Let us know if you've done it multiple times and if you've noticed something different times. Let us know what you saw. Let us know what you experienced. Tell us in the comments, or just give us $1, join the Discord and join the Discord server, and then you could just tell us ourselves. You can bombard us with crap and saying, this was a great idea, or you guys are idiots. I'm never doing this again. I gave you $1 just so I could insult you to your face.
Yeah.
But thank you all for checking us out. Go ahead, do whatever you're going to do. Get on with your day. If you're Canadian, enjoy Happy Canada Day. If you're in America over the next couple of days, Happy 4th of July. And if you're anywhere else in the world, happy whatever day it happens to be.
Well, if you're anywhere else in the world, it's too bad for you. You don't get a day right now.
I mean, you get your Saturday or Sunday or whatever day it is that you're listening to this.
You get your weekend. That's about it.
You get your day, whatever day it may be. or may not be. Maybe you just take your favorite holiday and you just throw it up there, and you can insert it however you want in whatever part of the sentence. So I'm just going to say happy day, and you can put the word wherever you see fit.
Like Mad Libs.
Pretty much. That's been the show. This is Why Does This Exist? I've been Chris.
And I've been Rob.
And remember, question everything.
Good night, everybody.